All right, also breaking in South Carolina, defendant Christopher Dontell just accepted a plea deal on conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact. The former deputy coroner will testify against his co-defendant Meagan Jackson in her trial scheduled in February 2025. Dontell will be sentenced following that testimony. Let's head into that courtroom now, where this is all playing out in South Carolina.
Your Honor, both sides are prepared to go to trial. However, it is the state's understanding that the defendant will be entering a plea of guilty to criminal conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact murder, that he has agreed to be available to testify for the state in the trial of his co-defendant Meagan Jackson, and that he will enter the plea today that sentencing will be held in advance until after he testifies as necessary.
Ms. Zimmercheck, is that your understanding as well?
That is correct, Your Honor. And Your Honor, I have spoken with the victim's oldest son, and he's in agreement with this resolution.
Does he wish to be heard today?
I told him that because the sentencing wouldn't happen today, he wanted to get back to it.
All right, Ms. Zimmercheck, you're here today with your client, Mr. Christopher Allen Dontell, to enter a guilty plea for criminal conspiracy to commit murder as well as accessory after the fact. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And have you had a chance to discuss the elements of these crimes as well as the evidence that's in possession of the state? Have you also had a chance to discuss with him his constitutional rights and any defenses he may have if this was to proceed to trial? I see here that he has signed an initial by acknowledgement of rights form, indicating that he understands his various constitutional and trial rights, but that he'd like to waive those and enter a guilty plea here today for those two charges. Is that your understanding, Ms. Zimmercheck?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And do you concur with this decision?
I do.
Good morning, Mr. Dontell. How are you? Good morning. Mr. Dontell, are you currently under the influence of any drugs or alcohol or anything else that would affect your understanding of what we're doing? Are you aware of any mental, physical, or emotional problems that would prevent you from understanding these proceedings? Now, Mr. Dontell, you're here with your attorney. You have signed an initial by acknowledgement of rights form, indicating that you understand your various trial rights and constitutional rights, but that you want to waive those rights and plead guilty here today. Is that correct? And you understand that we've already picked a jury on this case. The jury's here. If you would like a trial, we can have a trial.
Your Honor, I don't believe you're sworn.
Okay, you're correct. Let's go ahead and swear.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Mr. Dontell, now that you've been sworn, does that change any of your interest in the previous questions? We're going to go over them just to be on the safe side. And again, are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol or anything else that will affect your understanding of what we're doing? Are you aware of any mental, physical, or emotional problems that will prevent you from understanding these proceedings? And again, I see that you've signed an initial by acknowledgement of rights form indicating that you understand your trial and constitutional rights, but you want to waive them here today and plead guilty to these two charges. Is that correct? And you understand that we picked the jury the other day and that they're here waiting if you would like to proceed with your trial. I also want you to understand that the case that we have and these charges, you obviously have a right to have your attorney here. And I'm just going to go over some of the rights that you've already signed an initial that you understand. But you understand at your trial, if you would have gone to one, you would have had your attorney with you. You would have been able to call your own witnesses. You would have been able to cross-examine any witnesses that the state may have. You understand that? You also would have had the right to testify or not testify. You understand that? And I want you to understand that if you had chosen not to testify, I would have instructed the jury that they can't hold that against you. You understand that? That you'd like to waive all of those rights, plead guilty here today to criminal conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact. Is that correct? And are you doing this of your own free will and accord? Yes. And have you had an ample opportunity to discuss these matters with your attorney? Have you also had an opportunity to see the evidence that's in possession of the state? Yes. And you've discussed all of this with your attorney as well as the elements of these crimes? Thank you, sir. If you'll listen to the solicitor as she puts the facts on the record.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, if the state would proceed to trial, the evidence that would be presented would show that while Mr. Dontell was working as a deputy coroner for Horry County, he began a relationship with the co-defendant, Meagan Jackson, who was involved in body transport. As a result of that relationship, Meagan Jackson became pregnant with Mr. Dontell's child. There were anonymous messages being sent to Mr. Dontell's wife, which caused problems. Additionally, Meagan Jackson expressed to Mr. Dontell issues that she was having with the victim, Gregory Rice. She also specifically said at one point that she would cut his brake line, or this is my best chance to get rid of Greg. There were a number of occasions and text messages to support this where Mr. Dontell and Ms. Jackson would essentially engage in target practice. On the day of Mr. Rice's disappearance, there is surveillance video showing Mr. Dontell and Ms. Jackson leaving their community in separate cars. There is what the state believes to be a blow-up doll in the passenger seat of Ms. Jackson's car. And at one point in a text message, she had said, "You can go to the woods and play with the blow-up Betty." It's the state's contention that that was sort of target practice. That's hours before Mr. Rice disappears. The defendant then goes to Abuelo's, and then at some point, Mr. Rice is brought by Ms. Jackson to Myrtle Beach Funeral Home. His phone last connects with a network at 11:06 approximately that night, October 2nd, 2020. And that's the Lowe's Food International Drive right there, 31. According to Mr. Dontell in his proffer, the next day, he knew that Mr. Rice had been at the funeral home. He does not know, according to him, what happened to Mr. Rice that night. Mr. Dontell has told us before that on the next day, which would have been October 3rd, 2020, that Ms. Jackson said to him, essentially, "It was him or you. I need you to go get him out of the cooler at the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home and get rid of him." We then have surveillance video of Mr. Dontell at the Lowe's home improvement store purchasing items that were later found to be used to dispose of Greg Rice's body, specifically a tarp, ratchet straps, 2 cinder blocks, and some zip ties. There was a sheet found wrapped around the victim that matched the sheets at the Myrtle Beach Funeral Home. There's also cell phone data showing Mr. Dontell pinging off the tower near where the body was dumped. And LPR is showing him traveling to and from that area, as well as surveillance video for the PE exchange going towards the dump site and back from the dump site. I believe that's everything.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dontell. Mr. Dontell, you've heard the facts and stated by the state, what they believe were the facts that occurred that night, or over those period of days. Are those facts proven accurate? Yes. You understand when you engage in activities like that, just break the law, correct? Correct. Are you pleading guilty to these charges freely and voluntarily? Yes. Are you satisfied with your attorney? Very much. Has she answered all your questions? Yes. Do you have any questions of me? No. And you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up your right against self-incrimination. You understand that? Because you're telling me that you committed these crimes. Other than the state allowing you to plead to these 2 charges, has anybody promised you, threatened you, or coerced you in any way to get you to plead guilty? This is your decision to plead guilty. And again, you're doing this freely and voluntarily with no coercion by anybody else. Have you understood all of my questions? Yes. Have your answers been the truth? Yes. And you understand that the sentencing range on these penalties is 0 to 5 on criminal conspiracy and up to 15 years on the accessory after the fact. You understand that? And that I could sentence you to those penalties consecutive. You understand that? Meaning that it would be a total of 20 years. Yes. All right, Mr. Dontell. I find that your plea is freely and voluntarily made with the consent of competent counsel when you tell me you're satisfied I will accept your plea. The state has indicated that they would like to hold sentence in advance to a later date. I do want to retain jurisdiction on this case, given that you have pled in front of me. Like I said, I believe that your plea is freely and voluntarily made, so I will accept it, and we will withhold sentencing or hold sentencing in advance to a later date. Thank you. Anything, Mrs. Timmercheck?
Member, we appreciate you retaining jurisdiction. We appreciate the state working with us to make sure that the facts are correct, and we will look forward to appearing in front of you again.
May I do it first?
Yes.
All right, they're going to head to sidebar right now, and let's bring in our guest for more to discuss on this shocking development out of South Carolina. We have criminal defense attorney Robin Nunn. Robin, nice to see you on this busy Wednesday. So we have this defendant, Christopher Dontell. He has pled guilty, basically no contest, to criminal conspiracy to commit murder and accessory after the fact. But he was charged also with murder and conspiracy to commit kidnapping. So where does this leave the case?
Yeah, I think that this is obviously a signal that, you know, he is about to flip on his co-defendant. I think that the case is now left with him, obviously, perhaps facing 15 years for the 2 counts which he has pled guilty in, at least for 1 count and perhaps more for the other count. And I guess we'll see in terms of if the trial moves forward on the murder charge.
Well, let's head back into court together because they just wrapped up that sidebar.
Mr. Dontell, you were pleading to criminal conspiracy and accessory after the fact. Were you the person who killed Gregory Rice? Yes. And Mr. Dontell, you understand that I'm not going to entertain any kind of bond motion prior to sentencing. You understand that? Thank you. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else from the defense?
Yes,
Thank you. We'll be at ease about 10 minutes, and then I will bring in the jury and release them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring back in Robin Nunn. So right there, I think we have our answer. The judge is about ready to release the jury, so I don't think that we're going to see a trial with the existing charges. So what happens to those, Robin?
Yeah, I'm assuming that they have worked out a plea deal and that he is going to cooperate in this case, and he's going to testify against the co-defendant, Meagan Jackson, on the murder charges. I'm assuming that his testimony will be that he did participate after the fact in the murder, but that it was Meagan Jackson's idea and that she carried out the actual killing.
All right, and we'll see that play out in February. Our thoughts with the victim's family who, you know, at least they won't have to endure this part of this adjudication before the holidays as they miss their loved one, Gregory Rice.